Hi, everyone. Brian Miller here, Director of Strategic Education Outreach for Wonder Workshop. And I'm really excited to have with us today our November Wonderful Educator of the Month, Bethany Arsenault from Highland, Michigan. And we're going to cut to her in a second. We're going to learn a little bit about her and what she does. But just as a reminder, our Wonderful Moments with Wonder Workshop is a program that is designed to share the excitement that our educators are doing inside of the classroom using Dash, Dot, and Q. And with that said, Bethany has been one of our educators the past couple of months in our new global educator community, where she's been sharing incredible things that she's doing in the classroom, which is why she's been featured this month for November. So Bethany, welcome, and it's a pleasure having you today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what you do?
Well, I was a kindergarten teacher for 7 years, and then I got my master's in ed tech, and then they said, guess what, you're not a kindergarten teacher anymore, you're going to teach kindergarten through third grade computer lab. And so I was pushed into the computer lab, and when I was there I realized that the kids weren't being very social, and they were one screen. And so when I was put into that role, my kindergarten teacher I was still a kindergarten teacher, because all of those skills kind of tied in to what I was already doing in the kindergarten classroom and what worked for kids. So it was a nice partnership between the two roles. So once I became a computer lab teacher, we changed the class to be called 4C. And so we focused on the 4 C's and collaboration and just all of those job skills that we're seeing that kids really need when they're coming out of college, and probably will change in 4 years. But those collaboration skills are huge, and just the creativity that they're not getting with the technology we wanted to integrate. So I've had a lot of experience just playing with technology throughout my whole life, and I've had all kinds of different weird computers over the years I love taking apart and putting it together. I'm in no way an expert or an expert coder, but I have a lot of interest and a lot of admiration for people that do.
Well, that's clear from what we see, from what you're posting and sharing inside of the global educator community. And I am a former kindergarten teacher as well, so I know what that's like to make that transition from being in the classroom from kindergarten and then moving into a K-5 computer teacher role. So our background is very similar when it comes to that. So really excited to jump in and start asking you these 5 questions. So as a reminder to our audience, what we do is we ask the same 5 questions every month to our wonderful educators of the month to learn a little bit about them. So I'm really excited to jump in. And we're going to start with our first question, Bethany, which is, what is your why for becoming a teacher?
This is a big question, and there's not enough time to say it all probably, but one thing I was really thinking about when I read this question is, especially when it pertains to things like robotics and collaborative projects, it's the aha moment when you see that group just light up and they're all high-fiving and they're celebrating. And it's not the end of the project or the end of the mission. It's that middle. It's when they figure out what they're going to do. It's when they figure out their plan. It's when they really start to embrace their roles. And I think that's when I get really excited. And that's when I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so worth it. They figured it out. And I let them fail, and I let them struggle a little bit and kind of form what they wanted their team to be, and what their roles, how their roles sort of fit together. And then that's when they take true ownership of their learning. And that's when I get really excited. So I think that's a big why.
I think that should be the why for every teacher is seeing the excitement that the students have and feeling that level of excitement with them. So that's why I do it as well too. All right, question number 2. What interested you in coding and robotics?
Well, I've always kind of been an inner nerd. I think one thing is I noticed that there kind of wasn't a place for coding and robotics in the elementary school in our district. And so I really wanted to give those kids that didn't get that opportunity. And I was interested in it because I've always been, like I said, I've always been interested in kind of getting into programs. And when I was younger, I used to kind of play around and mess around with BASIC. So, I think just giving the students nowadays that same opportunity was really a big draw. And I think when code.org came out with their hour of code, that was when I said, oh my gosh, they made it attainable. They made it so I could teach it, and I could share it with my kids and learn with my kids. And so I think just giving them something that was brand new and something I know that would pay off, and everybody that was invested in that movement were real CEOs. They were real leaders in the real world that the kids could look at and say, I know what Twitter is, and I know what Facebook is, and I know what Microsoft is. And these people are investing in us. And it just gave us all a real sense of pride. And I think that was where my passion for coding started, was that I could see that everyone had an invested interest, and my kids could benefit from that with no cost. So that
Yeah,
was
I mean,
amazing.
yeah, I think that that's, you know, an important thing to resonate, is that there's ways to get started in this that are little to no cost, especially using resources that are out there, like one of our partners, code.org. So it's something that I used growing in, well, I was teaching too. We started designing a K through 12 computer science framework, but even before code.org was created. And once that resource became available to us, it just unlocked so many doors. And also for me was that point where I realized, wow, students can do this too with little to no barriers and do it in a fun and creative way. So that's what we try to do here at Wonder Workshop too, is, you know, create that fun in learning and making sure that the opportunities for students are tangible and really resonate with what they're doing. So with question number 3, it kind of leads in perfectly, because how does coding and robotics with Dash, Dot, or Q impacted your learning?
So actually, right after I think the robots came out, I know they were named something different. A few years back, being that kindergarten teacher, you're always looking at how kids are learning. And the coding is very abstract. And I loved how I went to a conference and I saw these little blue robots and everyone was going crazy and there was kids playing with them, and I could see the engagement and just how they were trying and failing and trying and failing. But one thing I noticed is that the kids were really understanding how the code translated into something concrete, something real, something tangible. And I think that was my aha moment. And I went to my principal and I said, I need these robots. And so we sold brownies. We did, oh my gosh, fundraisers. He dressed up like a chicken. I mean, he did so many things so we could raise funds. And so I have to thank Dr. Sharon. Thank you. And when we got them, it was a huge deal, and we had a big open house and we celebrated these robots, and we transformed our whole entire room. So it started with the robots and it took off, because then we bought these really inexpensive TVs, and now we use one computer and we cast to a TV. You can sort of see behind me. And everything became about collaboration, and everything became about working with a team, because that's what you do with the robot, and that's what you do with coding. So now we code in a team when we're doing code.org. When we work on projects, we code in a team. And I think that's been transformational for my educational space and for the experience the kids have in our school.
Side question here. So in terms of what you're mentioning about collaboration, would you say that one of the biggest, I would say, concerns or, you know, misunderstandings by educators is that computer science isn't collaborative, and then once they start doing something like integrating physical computing with, you know, like Dash, Dot, or Q, seeing that level of collaboration happen? Would you say that that's one of the misunderstandings that teachers have when they get started, that it might not occur?
Definitely. I think once you just get started and you're learning, you learn along with the kids as well. I think that helps a lot. But I think you're still a teacher, you're still that guide, and you can still give them a framework. Like, for example, like with the Wonder League, you know, you give them rules, you give them guidance, but then what you start to find when you let go a little bit and they start to make it their own, and that's when you start to learn. And then that truly, the reins are loosened up a little bit and you start to relax and realize this is what learning is supposed to look like. It's supposed to be a little messy and a little crazy, but you want them to be a little messy and crazy because you're hoping 10 years from now they'll use all of these skills they're learning and maybe, you know, and solve some really big real world problems with those same skills they learned with these little blue robots or with, you know, something else. So yeah, I think there's a lot of fear, but I think it's just giving it a chance, giving them some structure, and then gradually releasing that control.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, we're facilitators in the student learning, and the more opportunities we have to present them with problems that are real world problems that they have to solve on their own, with us not necessarily knowing the answers, but being that facilitator is by far, one of the best pieces that we can do as educators and setting them up for success. So question number 4, what is your favorite moment with using dash, dot, or Q?
I think my favorite moment, obviously, when they celebrate, I kind of talked about that. But I think I kind of get excited when kids say they've never been part of a team. I mean, we really try to make, the experience here when they're on a robotics team, kind of like a sports team. My district, I'm from Highland, but our district is actually in Pinckney, which is not very far from Highland. But we have a lot of sports teams, and we're really trying to open up some academic teams. So when I see that I'm on a team, I'm on a real team, and we put their picture in the hallway, and we do all these really great things. We give them a team locker. I think probably my favorite moment is when they take that pride and they're announcing to other people, I'm on a team. Or you see their mom posted on Facebook, I'm on a team. Or we have a team seesaw, and you see them commenting on other kids, well, that's really great, you did a great job, or that's a great idea. They're starting to really understand that this is a real team, and this is a real role, and this is very similar to your soccer team, and it's important, and your ideas are important just like they are on a soccer team. I think that's my big moment, I think, for sure, when they really understand that what they're doing is important and it matters.
Well, I mean, congratulations to you and your district for recognizing that, because I think in so many places, schools are trying to still figure out where this fits inside of the ecosystem, especially when around building culture and community. And, recognizing these students as academic leaders and team members, I think makes this a little bit more equal in terms of how they're recognized, because colleges and universities are recognizing that this is now a team sport. Esports is becoming a thing, robotics competitions and becoming, a part of a team is a thing, and treating them the same level as regular physical sports, I think, is important, because it shows that regardless of what your skill set is, there is a place for you to collaborate and be a part of a team with others. And that will resonate into the real world. I think everywhere you go, you will find your tribe or your team, and knowing that it's okay that you are not maybe the most physically active or the physically talented. And there's a place for you to be recognized based on your merits of your knowledge, and what you can accomplish from an academic standpoint is just as important. So kudos to all of you for recognizing that, because there's not many places that I've come across that actually do provide that level of equality when it comes to recognizing them for what they're doing in other forms of team sports. All right, that's wonderful. So question number 5, what tips do you have for a teacher that is just getting started in coding and robotics?
I would say, kind of building on what you were just talking about, is finding your tribe. Get on Twitter, join the Facebook group. Really just put out there, I need help, or how do I get started, or I have this idea. When we started, we were new, we were very green, we didn't know what we were doing. We made mats out of just random stuff, and the kids helped a lot. I mean, you have to find people in your community that will support you. Go to your school board, make some noise, and just say, this is important, I want to start. But I'd say get on Twitter, join some chats. I know a lot of states have local chats. One thing that we did is we did try to make it like a team sport. And we had, I take little team pictures. And one thing that really helped, it's a free resource that we didn't have a few years ago, is Seesaw. Because then what you're doing is you're giving them a real audience. And so we have a team Seesaw. It's all of 3rd grade, because we're doing all of 3rd grade this year, because I'm crazy. And so all the 3rd grade parents are seeing what they're doing. And then they can say, wow, that's really cool. Or that's really neat what you're doing. Or I want to know more. And then at dinner, they can talk about, well, how did you make that 180-degree turn? Or, or what is your team doing next time? And so the conversation doesn't end when they leave. Their parents can talk to them about the mission. They can see the mission in activities. And you can also read it to the children. I know there's kids at different levels. I would say try to differentiate as much as you can for different levels and different academic levels so it's attainable. But I think Seesaw has been just huge. In person, invite people to come. Invite anyone, invite a parent, invite a board member, invite a principal from another building, from another district. Invite them to come watch, and the kids will really start to take pride and start to really hold themselves accountable. If someone's watching, they think I'm important, and I need to do my best to show them I'm a good team member, and I'm really trying my best, and this is important. So I think just find your tribe, make some noise, and give them a real audience.
I think those are three wonderful tips.
Yeah.
And, you know, things that people I think can resonate to, because everyone's looking for their tribe.
Yes.
And they're looking to provide some voice in what they're doing, especially when it comes to recognition within the district, the school, for fundraising purposes, but also just to share the great things that are happening by students in a classroom. So Bethany, this has been an absolute pleasure connecting with you and getting to hear these, you know, these 5 questions and learning a little bit about more of what you're up to in your classroom. Is there anything else that you would like to add or share before we say goodbye?
Sure. Well, 2 things. When this airs, it'll be our Nerd Night, which we celebrate Nerdvember. So I was really excited to get this award in November because this is sort of my month. And another idea to get supplies and different things, we have a penguin, we have a mascot, and he's kind of our mascot for our makerspace. And what we do is we celebrate his birthday every November, and then everyone in the school brings him presents, and there's supplies for robotics, makerspace, things like that. That's just a suggestion. It could be any animal. And another thing is that because the robot does do a lot of dance-like moves, we did a project, we probably will do it again this year. We do this thing called codography, and we match up Code.org's dance party with the robot and the kids, and we do a little dance performance. So don't be afraid to sort of incorporate the robot into other subjects like dance and perform it at the talent show or whatever. So those are my big things. And also my lanyards, thank you to my tribe. I got my lanyards and they're all made, and it's all because of all of your suggestions. So I was super pumped about that. They all were giving me updates and things I should edit and even private messages. So thank you for that. And just thank you to my families here at Country. They've just been beyond supportive and supportive about me doing this too. And I think I couldn't have done it without Wonder Workshop and Country Elementary for sure. So
well, we're really proud to have you as our October or November Educator of the Month. How can people follow you, Bethany?
Well, I'm on Twitter. It's just my first and last name, Beth Arsenault 14. I am also on the group quite a bit. I'll share some of the stuff I talked about. I have like labels and different things. I know some of that stuff gets a little daunting to create. So I mean, if anyone has any questions, I think the group is really the best place to find me. And I also have a website, countryelementary.com, and I have a few things on there. And I'm also willing to share, you know, any of my Seesaw activities once we get all of those put on Seesaw. They'll be public, so they can actually go on there and just assign them to their classes. And Seesaw is free, which is pretty cool. So.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to be sure to have that information pop up at the bottom of the screen below so they can follow you with all those resources. And as Bethany mentioned, the Global Educator community is the best place to join. So if you are not currently a member of the Global Educator community because you're watching this on the blog or on YouTube, be sure to join us just by searching Facebook for Wonder Workshop Global Educator Community. It's free to join. It's a great place to collaborate and join in conversations with other teachers like our November Educator of the Month, Bethany. Bethany, again, it's been an absolute pleasure having you join today. If you would like to become you're welcome, absolutely. If you would like to become a Global Educator of the Month, be sure to fill out the form inside of our Global Educator community, and we will then go through and look for people who are active on social media by sharing the amazing things that are happening inside of your classroom. So we look forward to seeing you, and thanks again for joining today, Bethany.
Bye.
Bye-bye.